Pride and Prejudice was also on my list.
Which one?
2005 with Keira Knightley.
Okay.
Because she's judgmental. And so am I.
Hey, you're listening to Talking Stories, a show talking about stories that impact lives and inspire change. I'm your host, Raquel Russell. I'm so glad that you're here today. Grab your favorite tea, turn up the volume, and keep listening. Hello and welcome back to Talking Stories. I am your host, Raquel Russell. This is a show where we talk about the power of narrative, both fiction and nonfiction, in mine and my guests' lives. Thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. Please subscribe, follow us on social media. The links are in the bio. And let me know what you think. I'm really just working on developing this show and making it better and interesting for you as I just get to delve into the thing that has really helped give my life meaning, stories in everything that I do. Whether it's faith, whether it's my career, whether it's my hobbies, stories are so integral to who I am. So today I am so excited. Our next guest is a freelance writer and she's a good friend of mine. In this series, we've been chatting about personal storytelling and what it means to be inspired by stories that make us and help us persevere and really, again, inspire change. My next guest is a freelance writer, a friend from school. We were in the same journalism program. Her name is Jody Anderson. She's super talented, super thoughtful, and I really do think that you are going to get a lot of gems from this episode and be inspired by some of the great things that she has to say about being real and what that means for our voice in storytelling, but even just what that means to be on our journey as people and human beings. So again, make sure your tea is ready, your coffee is there, and keep listening. You're in for a great show. So I am really excited to be talking today with my friend Jody Anderson. Jody is a freelance writer. She's also a former staff writer at Sophomore magazine. And we actually went to journalism school together and we had some real experiences there. We actually worked on this project together called Humans of Tandem. It was a magazine focused on how millennials interact or don't interact with religion. Do you remember that, Jody?
I do remember that.
What immediately comes to your head when you think about that project?
Two things. Making that documentary and also the interview I did with that queer man who it was such a hectic time and such a beautiful time, and I feel like we missed so much opportunity in that stress to get everything done.
Yeah.
His story was like, it was nice, and talking to him was nice, and he was so patient with me, and so God,
really good story. If I'm remembering it right, he was Muslim and gay, like was that the whole intersection?
Yes, and he also, if I recall, had an illness as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. Honestly, it was a lot. I remember just staying up really late and working and all that and trying to make sure that everyone had a fair time in the story. And everyone, like every part of their story was important, but trying to capture like the snippets that would make the audience fully understand. And I remember being like so proud of the editing.
Because I went back and I looked, because we had a Facebook page that we set up for the magazine. I think we had a Twitter and I think we had an Instagram at one point. And
I remember.
I'm still getting notifications for them. I'm getting notifications for the Facebook page. Yeah, and it always makes me go back. Like, I'm really proud of the stories that we told through that project. You know, it connected us with some really like interesting, I guess, mentors is what they called it, but also just the people that told us their stories. Like, I think of your story. I think of well, actually, I don't think she wants to be referenced anymore. She did reach out to. I'll have to cut this part, but she reached out to me and she said she doesn't want her birth name associated with the article. I think it had something to do with her family or something.
Mm.
But you know, we got to get into some really conversations about fandom and how that can relate to
Mm.
religious fervor, if that's how you say it. And yeah, I was just really proud of that project, and I think I was really proud to work with you all. The people that we worked with were really incredible.
Yo. Honestly, when I think about that project, I also think about a lot of firsts for me. The
Hmm.
first time I took initiative, like I was like, okay, we're gonna bang out this documentary. Okay, boom, 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 do this, do
Yeah.
that, do that, done. And then banging, like I remember I found my voice in
Mhm.
that project because there's an article I wrote and the introduction was different and everything about it was just so new to me, but it was the real me. Like it wasn't a structured way that they wanted me to write, like they, you know what I mean, they
Yeah.
told me to write. I found my voice and that felt so good. And then another, excuse my language.
No, you're good. You're good.
um and the next first for me, oh my god, detachment. I was really nervous about working with a group,
Yeah.
and I remember I heard a lot of horror stories about people working on these final projects, like
Same
really
here.
intense. Yes, you know, and former students like told me some shit too, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna detach because I get very attached to things, even when they're things that I'm like not even originally passionate about. If my name's attached to it, I want all in,
Yeah.
and I had to like let that go and learn how to not even just compromise but learn how to work collectively with people to everyone's vision is valuable, and also realizing I'm not always right.
Hmm.
My vision's not always right.
That's a hard lesson for any of us.
It was really hard. I'm like, I had to detach, and I'm like, I had to let that go. And it was hard. But I was also like, wow, I did that. Like, I detached and look at this beautiful project. My voice is in there. My stories are in there. Everyone else's. People influence what we saw. And I was just like, it was just a beautiful meshing. I was just so happy for it. Is meshing even the correct term? I don't know.
I get what you're meaning.
But mash up, mash up,
I
mash up. Like, just like that. Ignore me.
mashup. That's what we're going with. That is
Yeah.
the word, period, straight.
Ah.
Like you said something interesting about finding your voice in this project. Can you
Mm.
elaborate a bit more on that? Was it through telling these stories, through doing this research? Like, what was that process like for you?
I read stories that um I read a book by Nora Ephron. I like Nora Ephron as a creative. She wrote the screenplay for Harry Met Sally. You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle, and I liked her articles. I felt like it's like I came onto them and I was reading them, and she just writes about anything and is able to attach culture to it some way. She writes about politics. She writes about small breasts, how much she loves dinner parties, cooking, this and that. And I'm just like, she makes it fun. And
Yeah.
you're just going in her head. It's not unsimilar or dissimilar, whatever. It's a lot like what people are writing like right now, personal stories and connecting it to the culture and how it all weaves together.
Yeah.
And her voice was just very, it just touched me, and I was like, you know what, I can just chill, like I can just relax. I can write this introduction with the first thought that comes to my mind when I came into this neighborhood, because I went to like Bathurst and St. Clair, and I'm from Scarborough, so like a lot of like areas of downtown are new to me. So I'm like, I'm gonna write my first thought I had when I came to this neighborhood, or the first, actually my first sentence was something my manager told me about that neighborhood. I had never been there before because I think it was a um like a mainly Jewish community.
Okay.
And I was going there for that, for to speak with a Jewish man about his religion and everything. And I was like, let me just try something new. Let me just do what I want to do.
Ah.
And that's how I found my voice. And she loved, by she, it was Lindy, I think. She liked my essay. She was like, I like this article. Like, this was good. Like, I like your voice here. It's very like da da da. I'm like, okay, I'm not letting this go.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I get and if again, I don't know if it's just a loss for words at the time of night that we're recording this, but I think invigorated is the word. Or
Mm.
I'm just feeling like inspired even hearing, that process. Cause I think it is such a hard thing to find your voice.
Yeah, it is.
Um, once you find it, don't let it go. And, personally, I still feel like I'm finding my voice, but I think that's because I don't use it enough. Uh,
Mm.
and that's no one's fault but my own, and my own fear keeping me back. So I think that's something that I've always admired about you, is that I felt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt that you found your voice at such an important time. You would speak up on issues that I just didn't know how to navigate, or even just like you were able to speak clearly to what you were experiencing. And I don't think I'm alone in not knowing how to do that all the time, because we're going so quickly through life, experiencing whatever crisis is happening that day. And sometimes it just gets easier to just repackage what you know. And not to say that we don't repackage in general to an extent, but just, regurgitate whatever we have and just move along, and not really get in touch with that person that we are, or that individual voice.
I love the way you say that. That is so true. I off topic, but not really. One
Yeah.
thing I love about talking to other people is
Mhm.
when they're able to phrase things in a way that I could not phrase it. And
Mhm.
that's what I found really interesting about what you just said, because you're just like, you were able to speak to how you felt on things that like you said you didn't know how to navigate. And I'm like, always feel like I'm missing the words. Like even right now, I'm like stuttering a whole bunch because I don't know if I know the right words I want to use, but I know how I feel. And that's why I'm like, a lot of the things that I brought up in class, I didn't always know how to navigate. I just like talking shit. I was just like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, this isn't right. I don't know what's right, but this is not right. And
Right.
like, she was talking, you weren't. That doesn't feel right either. Like, that's just it. And it's wild. It's wild because it's like there's a power dynamic at play as well, which makes it difficult to navigate these conversations, because you're always going to feel like the people that are in power are going to know more, or shut you down with logic, that like
Yeah.
when you walk away, you're like, wait a minute, that didn't make sense.
Yeah. And I want to pull it back just a little bit for anyone who does, like, we're kind of talking around a subject that we
Oh,
both
right.
know, but like for people, anyone who's listening to this, I mean, by the time this goes out, my article actually on anti-Black racism, um, and 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 what that experience was of experiencing anti-Black racism in the institution was like. And in that article, I talk a little bit about um, my experiences in my specific program. And Jody and I were in the same program, and some of the experiences that we had um, was where oftentimes the women of color, I would say specifically, I don't know, I can't speak to men of color in the program because I didn't really hang out with them as much, but there was a lot of like being talking down to, I don't know how to say it, like
Condescension, maybe?
say again.
Condescension?
Condescension. Yeah, condescension. I almost want to say condensed milk.
Yo! I don't even know if I'm saying the word right. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, Lord. Almost a condescending manner with some of the instructors, that we had. And it was really an experience that stuck with me, at least in how I saw us treated, specifically, like whether it was, we talk a lot about representation, but one of the main things was, not having a Black instructor teaching, at least me. I never had a Black instructor, period, in the program that I was in. There was like the elective courses, but we as Jody, so beautifully encouraged me, was like to speak about the educators that we did have adjacent to us that, were Black and racialized, and really stood in the gap for that lack of, I don't know, mentorship would be the word, that we didn't get to really receive. And, the program we were in felt very, at least I felt like I was limited because I didn't see enough people that kind of that looked like me, pledging that path forward. I don't know. I don't know if I'm even talking to it clear enough. I might have to tighten this. But Jody, what do you think?
Yo, I became so cynical. Like, I remember when guest speakers started coming in, I'm like, I just want to ask them questions to make them fluster. But I was like, I don't have those questions. I'm just going to be quiet. But
well, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the one time I got brave was when we had someone come in, bless her heart. She was talking about professionalism and how we look for broadcast journalism, because even at that time I still wanted to be in broadcast journalism at some point. And I remembered that I specifically asked about, I think it was like the hairstylist that
it was the makeup lady. Mm-hmm.
Okay, right, about like doing makeup and hair for Black women like me. And I at the time I had locks as well, and she didn't know what to say.
She said the stupidest, rankest, awfulest, meanest, racist thing ever. Like,
I don't even remember what she said. What did she say, Jody?
She told you, I'm sorry, she told you that you would be better suited for entertainment because there's not a lot of people with locks that are in anchoring positions. And I was pissed. Like, I was pissed. Oh, I was pissed for you, and I was pissed about the whole situation. I was pissed about the representation. I was pissed about the lack of representation. I was pissed about, anyway.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
I'm sorry I don't know if that's a good thing or bad.
No, it's good, because sometimes, you get, and we're talking about all this. I'm someone who also tries to be very grateful for the people who did the work, made you feel welcome, and encouraged you. But, the distance sometimes can make everything seem better than it was. So sometimes I forget about some of those things, and then I'm also the person who tries to say, well, I don't have it as bad as, this person, or I don't have it as bad as this, and then I try to like just siphon it off. But I think one of the good things that's been happening today is just like, and today I mean 2020, and that we're having these conversations, and it feels like people have been listening to these conversations specifically about inclusion. I don't even want to say diversity because it gets so melted down, but anti-Black racism and what it means to be anti-racist. And I feel like those discussions are happening in a different way, where people are hopefully listening better. I mean, the US election makes me think, I'm not sure how much the US people who were allies listened, but yeah, I just, I hope that it continues to improve, that, systems are broken down. But yeah, oh my gosh, that was a chapter, Jody. That was a chapter.
Yeah, that was off. That was tough.
Yeah.
I don't even have words.
Yeah, but we're still here, and we're I wanted to get into, actually, we talked a little bit about the fact that you're a writer, and we both did this journalism program together, and you're still a freelance writer, but writing isn't all you are and all of who you are. So in your words and in your story, who is Jody Anderson?
That's such a big question.
It's big. You can do bullet points, sis. Do the bullet points if you need to.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have the answer to that question, but I agree with you. I wouldn't say writer is totally what I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm not.
Okay, who are you not?
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
It's more like, I know I'm not a certain person. I'm a person who's currently uncertain and insecure. And I know a lot of people feel the same way, but it's just the truth. That's just, I know who I am and who I'm not.
Yeah.
I know I'm a person who loves TV and film and books as a form of escapism. Yeah. And as a form of healing as well. I know I'm not like a bad bitch, nope. But I listen to bad bitch music. Yeah. While I ride my bike. I know that, yes, who I am. I'm creative. That's who I am. And you know what? There was this tweet the other day that went around saying, like, what are 4 movies that would describe you? And
I love that. I have to do that.
it was so much fun. It was so much fun. People are putting pictures of, first of all, pet peeve, when people put pictures of movies, like, I love the scene, but no one says what the movie is. It pisses me off so much. I hate it. It's so rude. Like,
Shout out to all the FBI detectives, not for real, but like the Twitter detectives who get in the comments and are like, what is this? And then someone comes in and they're like, this is what it is, and here's the link. I'm like, y'all are heroes. You are real heroes.
they really are.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so hard and so, but the movies I used to describe myself was She's Gotta Have It, the movie, okay? Because I love the main character's sexuality. I loved their creative spirit. I loved their home. I loved how they were very blunt and open about what was important to them. I can't remember. I think it was Lola. I'm not confident on her name. 40-year-old version, that movie just came out. I've been waiting for it since Sundance reviews, and then since its Netflix announcement, and then since it came out. I needed to make sure I was in the right place.
I love it.
It touched me so much. Like, it touched all my insecurities. It touched all my realizations of the kind of person I'm afraid I might become, or the kind of fears I do have, or so on and so on. Mistress America, which is a film that Greta Gerwig is in, and her partner directed, Noah Baumbach. It's about a writer. I just love movies about creative people. And Pride and Prejudice was also on my list.
Which one?
2005 with Keira Knightley.
Okay.
Because she's judgmental. And so am I. And she's like, she could be very proud, and I'm like, I get that.
Yeah.
If I can make a sip, I'm very, yes, I am a little bit.
I love it.
A little bit too much, though.
Hey, it's better to be honest than be a fake, right? Like, I mean, I think it is. I don't
like to think
the downside.
There's an extremism of everything. And my last one was Devil Wears Prada, because again, it's just the style in that movie. Stanley Tucci in that movie. I hope I said his last name correctly.
Man.
My girl, what's my girl? Oh my God.
Hathaway?
Anne Hathaway, my girl too, my other girl.
Oh, wife. What's her name? Well, not the wife. LOL. That's bad.
Oh my God, I can't believe you forgot her name.
That's Mary Poppins.
No.
It's not Mary Poppins?
No. Oh my God, cast. I'm so sorry. Meryl Streep. Meryl
Streep.
Yes. I love that movie. It was about the magazine world. I love the magazine world in theory, which reminds me, another thing I know I'm not someone who could write 3 to 5 articles in a day. These jobs that are hiring people to write 3 to 5 stories a day, who? How? No. Like, I just don't. I can't do that. I can't do that. Yeah, I learned about a lot of things that I'm not, and I'm coming to terms with that. I'm lazy. So I gotta work on that. I mean, I gotta work within that range. Like, I've accepted it. It's who I am.
Whew. I want to, before I go too deep again, I want to kind of try this thing. Like, this is obviously not on Twitter, but I want to see what movies I would put to myself on the spot.
Ooh,
I give myself a timer. Let me give myself 30-second timer to choose movies. Okay. Oh, shoot. This is stressful. I would say the Brandy Cinderella with Whitney. And I would say that because I'm optimistic, even in my pessimistic side. Another movie. Well, Doctor Who is an hour long, so I would say Doctor Who, because he is adventurous and he keeps trying and he brings along sad and not as open to the world people as myself that I can be. I can be that person. I want to be the doctor, but I'm oftentimes the companion who needs to just get out of her house and see something new. And then I should actually stick to movies, like proper movies. Oh my gosh, Raquel, stop choosing fairy tales.
Hells.
But see, like I was about to say another Cinderella. The Cinderella that came out a couple of years ago, where it was like have courage and be kind.
Wait, no. Who was in this one?
This was the live action one with it. Is it Lily Collins? Someone Collins? She's like
Cinderella with Lily Collins? Wasn't she Snow White?
oh, wrong one. LOL. I'm confusing them, girl. Hold on. Let me Google Cinderella,
Oh
2015.
my god. Yeah, it was Snow White.
Oh, what? Lily James. Sorry, Lily James. I again that whimsical hope. This is actually really hard.
Did you say whimsical hoe?
Whimsical hope.
Oh. Okay. I'm writing whimsical hoe though, still. That should be a title or something.
Okay. I'll have to come back to the fourth one. I can't think of a fourth one off. Oh, you know what? No, that's not good. I was gonna say Spotlight in terms of the journalists who just kept going to the end of the story.
Good.
Okay, so maybe I'll stick with Spotlight because I think I liked how they were still pursuing the story and trying to find out the truth, even though, for a lot of the reporters who were covering the story, they were Catholic. And they had to reconcile with the fact that people that represented something they believed in were so evil. And I think that's something that I've had to reconcile with, as someone who identifies, would you say that? I'm Christian, and reconciling like people and factions of the religion that just, I don't understand how they can identify as Christian, whether it's the bigotry or the hatred, and I get confused. So I think that would be my fourth. And I'm sorry, I've derailed this conversation.
No, I love this. Spotlight.
Yeah, Spotlight. I think that would be it looks like that's the one serious proper movie that I selected outside of Doctor Who, Brandy, Cinderella, the other Cinderella, and then this.
I did not know they made so many Cinderellas.
Thank you for indulging me. So thank you for like the intro into who you are and like giving people a chance to know you better. And even me, I learned some things. Like the fact that you consider yourself lazy, I never would have thought that. But now moving on to kind of stories that are important to you. But period, why are stories important to you, and why should we care about the stories that we consume?
Stories are important to me because they're fun. They can come in all types of mediums, media, whatever, visual, photos, photography, any kind of art, words, poetry. You get it. Yeah. That's what it continues to pass down. Someone's always gonna understand it, interpret it, and it continues to pass down. And it's important to consume stories because it's like, first of all, how else are you going to learn new words? Like, pretty straightforward. You got to learn new words. And it gives you a peek into how everyone and everything connects. Mm-hmm. When I'm thinking about writing an article and you want to think about, what sources are you going to use? Suddenly you can think of like 5 different articles that separately might not connect. But then when you're writing this one story, you realize how they all intertwine somehow and how they all relate to each other. And it's like every story comes into contact with someone or some other story.
Oof, that's so good.
No, but that's it. Like if I keep on, I have to learn to stop. I have to stop. Like I'll keep ranting, but you get me. Like,
yeah,
like how it all connects.
That's so beautiful. I think that's what I like about it too. I mean, what drove me to journalism, part of it was that I didn't feel like I would have the support if I went into acting. But journalism also I found intersected beautifully with drama and the dramatic arts, because it's what you said, and that stories connect all of us. That's what I loved about, getting a new script and learning the character. Like, I can take pieces of this, and I know the audience can take pieces of this and relate to it. So I really like that, what you just said. What kind of stories do you tell yourself, or do you bring to mind in your life, whether that's in continuing to persevere? I'm not sure if I love the word persevering, but just to go on. I mean, with 2020, it's felt like a very long haul. And I feel like we all look to different things to motivate us through this time. You know, you talked earlier about escapism through the content that you consume. So what are some of those stories that you've been bringing to mind, or that have been motivating you?
Wow. Right now, I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but right now, if this makes sense, the only story that's motivating me is when I think about my own personal story.
Yeah.
Like what I want. Okay, this is so vain, but I do this because I love I love Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And it's not like I rely on it, but when there's a movie I'm too lazy to watch, or I feel like it's very predictable, I just like go to Wikipedia and read the entire plot. It's a thing. I do horror movies, which I never watch, but I still want to know what happens, you know? And so I often think about, and I do it with celebrities or like historical figures. And I think about, okay, if I had a Wikipedia page, what would that look like? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wouldn't say it's something I think about from time to time. It's not something I've been sussing over right now, but it's like, at the same time, I don't have a direct answer for your question because there's no story right now that's really motivating me.
Yeah.
But multiple stories, like Zora Neale Hurston's story really inspires me. The fact that not everybody really, she wrote books. She was a great writer. She was able to continue writing her books, but there was a point where her ideals didn't exactly align with other people's. Other Black people especially, right? Harlem Renaissance, to be more specific. And say, for instance, her book, I forgot the name of it. I wrote it down here. Their Eyes Were Watching God. In that book, she wrote like in a form of slang, right? In the way, not even slang, but she wrote the way you speak. And members of the Black community felt like it was taking steps backwards for the Black community rather than taking steps forward by, proper English or the way we communicate being more academic or whatever. I might not be explaining this very well, but I think you kind of understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. And it was really a lot of people later down the road were like, this is actually a way to capture the culture, capture the way we tell stories as a Black community, the African American community, right? And it became a very valuable piece of literature because it was capturing the way they talked, the way they communicated. And that's who she was. She was an anthropologist. She was a writer, a storyteller who traveled around and was sharing people's stories. She went to Jamaica and Haiti and wrote about voodoo there. She interviewed the last living slave, which was a book that was just published like last year or so, you know? She was a storyteller that just connected everybody, and she wasn't as celebrated as I thought she deserved to be. I don't know as much. I'm still digging deep into getting to know her. But it was the fact that she disappeared, you know, and then Alice Walker went out and found her grave and learned more about her and brought her back to the surface for everyone to know more about her again, that one article. And it was just, her story it motivates me. Because I think about even other Black creatives who nobody really maybe not get right now, or not everybody's on board with right now, but like a year or two later, everyone's gonna be like talking about that shit, talking about what they've been talking about what they've been doing for a long time. And like anytime I feel like I'm on the right path, but no one's really there with me or no one really gets me, I think about Zora Neale Hurston. I'm not saying that I'm at her level, but
I get you.
She motivates me.
That, honestly, that's beautiful, because I mean, Their Eyes Are Watching God has been on, I have like a to read list every year, and that's been on my list. And I think because for me, one of the things that I'm trying to do more of is reading more works by Black authors that either challenge my worldviews or like traditional worldviews I had growing up, or even just people that I didn't spend time on. Because I mean, you know this about me. I was a big, Lord of the Rings, Aragon Inheritance Cycle, C.S. Lewis, a lot of these fantasy genres. And a lot of times, they're older white men or white men, period. And even if there are women, they're white women. And I didn't realize until, I was getting older, just how white my reading experiences were. And that was something I had to come to terms with. So to even hear what you're saying, about like capturing like the voices of how people were speaking at the time, and Black creatives who aren't celebrated right now, who might be celebrated in 5 years, I think it's so important, and goes back to even what you've been doing. Everyone talks about authenticity, but I feel like you live that in whatever you feel like your quote unquote weaknesses are. That's where the power is, where people are real and they're capturing the truth. I think that in itself is a powerful story. So I look forward to your Wikipedia, Jody. I know it's gonna be real, and it's gonna be you. That's not to say you would be dead. You don't have to be dead to have a Wikipedia. Did you say you had to be dead?
No, but I did say historical figures.
Okay. Fair. I was like, you can have a Wikipedia now. I can make you one.
No.
But no, that's good. Before I move on to, actually, no, you answered that question. So then I'm just going to ask an open-ended question now before we go into some rapid fire. Is there anything I didn't ask you about stories that you want to touch on, or anything about the impact of any specific stories it made for you?
No.
You're good? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no.
We got a lot. We got a lot. Good. I'm going to be asking you a couple of questions. These are all related to writing, reading, storytelling, and you can take a couple seconds to respond, but it's supposed to be quick responses, so no essays. How do you prefer to read your books, ebooks or physical books?
Physical books.
Okay. Favorite writer?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay, wait. Oh. Okay.
It's okay. Take your time. Take your time. Do you have a couple of favorite writers?
Jody Anderson, Nora Ephron.
Say it again so it's clear.
Sorry. You should see me like clicking to my bed. Okay. Okay. Deshaun Harrison. They write for Wear Your Voice mag very often. Actually, I think they're a staff writer. And Nora Ephron.
Beautiful.
If I could pick a number 3, I'd say Zora Neale Hurston, but okay.
Yes, say number 3.
Zora Neale Hurston.
I love you. Oh my gosh. Do you write to music or silence, and why?
Silence. Music is distracting.
Fair. I'm in between, like silence when I really need to buckle down and I'm on like my 4th draft and I need to hand it in, but music, I think, when I'm kind of leading up to it. What is one book on your to read list right now?
Oof. There's so many. Oh. Okay, wait. I have one that is fine. I've had it for years on my to read list. It's in my room as we speak.
Yeah.
African American screenwriters now.
Oh, what's that about? I mean, it sounds like it's about African American screenwriters, but is there?
Yes, exactly. But it was published, let me look, like 80s or 90s, I think.
Okay.
And it features, let me see, it was published 1996. And it features like screenwriters that we all know, Julie Dash, Robert Townsend, and other ones that when I see their names, it's like doesn't come to me immediately.
Yeah.
But when I see their films, I'm like, oh yeah, I heard about this. And it's just them talking about their existence in Hollywood or lack of existence, how producers aren't supportive of them, but how they'll have these amazing moments where everyone's like, oh, they're pushing the boundaries, setting the this, the that, but like no one's actually be like, okay, I want to work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real. No, maybe 2021 is your year to read.
I've been wanting to read this since my last year of college, 2017.
I can't even tell you the amount of books I have in here that I keep saying I'm going to read. And that's why I've kind of put myself on a moratorium of buying books, because I have so many that I need to read. period. Okay, last one. How do you prefer to consume your stories? Books or movies?
Oh my god, I've been battling this for so long. Books.
What? Is that your final answer?
No. I will. Yes, books. Yes.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
hurts
but
me, but it's true. If I picked movies, it would hurt me still.
yeah, I think it's I'm like middle of the road. It depends.
I changed my mind. It's movies. It's movies. It's the truth. It's the truth. I want to be classic, but it's true. It's movies. It's true.
No, it's fair. It's real, and we have no time nowadays. LOL. I'm a book lover. No one dragged me. But yes, thank you for participating. Did you have fun?
I did.
Good.
Oh.
Good. Love it. Jody, thank you so much for joining me, for real. This conversation has been really soul feeding, if I can say that. Just being able to go back and talk about, different things that we experience collectively, as students, but to hear your thoughts on storytelling and the stories that you're consuming today and who you are. I'm rooting you on in all that you do. So always be aware that I'm there stalking you. Not for real, but
Likewise.
So thank you. No, honestly, thank you for being part of this and being on Talking Stories. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
Instagram, Mesh Island, MESH Island.
Perfect. No, I will have her handle in the show notes, so you'll be able to find it there. Please go and follow her and keep up with all of the great things that she's talking about. She is, as you've heard, a very thoughtful and powerful person. I think you have such power within you, Jody. I will see you online. And if there's any last thing that you want to say, did you want to say anything before we close out?
Thank you for having me. Honestly, it's an honor having conversations with you. You blow my mind.
Shots in the heart. I love it. No, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed the conversation, really. I'm glad it wasn't boring you.
Not at all.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I will see you in the real world, and thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I had such a great time talking with Jody. She is such an amazing person, passionate person. Make sure to follow her on her Instagram channel. The link is in our show notes. You can find the show notes by visiting raquelrussell.com/podcast, or you can go on YouTube to the show notes. All of that information is available to you. Thank you so much for listening. I can't wait for you to hear our next episode where I'm talking with a very good friend. Oof, we're getting back into the nerddom, guys. I'm really about to go nerd. So please be ready. It's going to be a good time. I'm so excited for you to hear this episode. Keep living your real, keep living your truth. We'll see you for the next episode of Talking Stories. Be safe out there.